Now, looking at the evolution of organizations, one would think that this would be very closely linked to another chapter in your book called The Individualization of Work.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, I think that one of the things that all people have got to come to the realization is that business's job is to make as much money as they can for their shareholders, for everybody else. Because of that, they want people to be as efficient and as effective as they possibly can be. So if you've got people who are more expensive than other people, you're going to say, well, if I can get the same quality work from somebody less expensive, it doesn't make any sense to spend more money. So that everybody who's in, whether you're inside a business or outside a business, you've got to start understanding that you're not safe. No one's safe. And you delude yourself believing that using a 19th century model was when you joined the company at 18 and total success was getting into the CEO's office. Of course, the closer you got to the CEO's office, the more successful you were.
That defined how successful you were.
But the reality is today, you're on your own. And you have to accept that there is no job security. There are no more jobs for life.
Yeah.
Because there are no more jobs for life, I have to see myself as an independent contractor. Sometimes you are an independent contractor, but even if you aren't one, because the paper says you aren't, you're no more secure than an independent contractor.
And then when you view yourself as an independent contractor, the milestones and the work ethic in getting to the milestones change?
Very different. I think that if I know that my job is only as good as my performance on a daily basis, would they hire me tomorrow?
Yeah.
And if they won't hire me tomorrow, understand that as soon as there's a downturn in the economy, I'm going to be one of those people who no longer has a job. So when I see myself as an independent contractor, whether I'm inside the company or outside the company, the quality of my work is going to improve, which is the only safety net I have.
I think, again, this links to one of the other chapters. What is creativity?
This is an interesting thing. We've been fooled by what creativity is because, of example, Mozart. Mozart apparently wrote that when he was in a relaxed mood, riding in his carriage, the entire symphony would come to him all at once, and he'd just have to go home and quietly write up what it was that he'd heard, and that was his symphony. We subsequently discovered, according to his personal biographer, that this was complete nonsense. The article was a forgery, and his family, his sisters, said that he worked so hard to produce everything he did. His work was real work, and he never ever worked without an instrument.
And it wasn't a fluke, and it wasn't
Nothing.
something that came to your head. So the idea that we have a creativity as to, oh, I've got a bright idea, let me write it down, let's see what happens.
Any bright idea that occurs to you never occurs complete. You have a germ of an idea, and then what you do is, if you took that germ of an idea and you showed it to somebody else, they'd say, oh, that's silly. I mean, look at the 47 reasons why I can't work. But if you have a germ of an idea and you say, I think there's something here, and you are a creative person, your creativity is not in that you came up with the idea, everybody can. What the difference between creative and non-creative people is not that their brains are different. They're exactly the same physiologically. We know that. The difference is that, have you got tenacity? And I think probably tenacity is a better indicator of creativity than anything else. So you have a germ of an idea and you say, I believe this. So I'll take 3 steps forward and then 4 steps back and then 1 step forward and 3 steps back. And you just keep on keeping on. And the key with this thing about steps is they're never leaps. They're always very, very small steps. Einstein did this. All the people who did, they talk about having small steps forward towards coming to fruition. But it's a long journey.
It's not an overnight process.
Not at all. It's a long journey. And what happens is that when you write your biography, of course, that's different. Then when you write your biography, you talk about how in a flash of insight you came up with this multinational company or this fantastic idea that in an instant, it doesn't work. That's not real. Not real. The reality is that if you want to be creative at any single part of your life, it's tenacity that's probably going to be more important than anything else, and small steps. Take any leaps, you'll make mistakes. The small steps ensure that the idea that you have actually gets formed and gets transformed into something which is valuable.
Ian, what type of person should be buying the executive update?
My figuring is that anybody who's running a company or who's concerned about their own if they're in business, they're concerned about what's going on in the world. they can read. That's probably based on a minimum. I think in the bibliography, there must be a minimum of 300 books that I refer to. If you can read 300 books, which is a chore, because it takes you, you can figure that you're going to spend about 12 hours on every single book. I've done all the reading for you. I've pulled all the best ideas together. So I think that anybody in business would find that very useful. As you were talking, I was thinking, well, would a dentist or a doctor need to read that?
Yeah.
My figuring is that it would be nice if your dentist could talk to you. So if he'd read
Sure.
it as well, it would be nice that he would read it too, so that he'd have something to say to you about where the world is going to.
Ian, thank you so much. We look forward to so much more business insight and strategy and implementation. But more so, we look forward to many more books.
Thank you.
From you.
Thank you very much.
Please, the executive update from Ian Mann captures everything about business in 110 pages.